Okay, I want to walk everybody through Programming Assignment 1, walk you through what's provided to you and what I will need you to do for this programming assignment. This is essentially a review of the material you covered in IS 2033 in Java 1. This is basically where you left off in Java 1 is where we want to start with Programming Assignment 1. So this is the folder that you see linked. The link to this folder is in your coursework. In this folder, there's a lot of stuff. I know it looks like a lot of stuff and it may be a little overwhelming, and I apologize for that, but the ordering of the materials is kind of important to me, and this is the only way I can make Blackboard do that the way I like. So we have to deal with Blackboard. We have programming and assignment instructions. I'm sorry, I think I had this opened already, but let's see. Okay. This is the way I like to organize my instructions. All the instructions for your programming assignments will look very, very similar. If it's going to be more than a page, there's usually a table of contents. That's just to let you kind of know where to find the different pieces. There's usually a section headed Given. These are the things that I'm providing to you to help you or to guide you through what I need you to do. So there's a UML class diagram that will talk about what the class you're going to code looks like. It's called policy. Okay. There's a shell or a skeleton test harness. You need to complete that. I've provided the shell or the skeleton code to you. These instructions, there's some sample output, what your output ought to look like, sample or expected output, and a grading rubric. This is precisely the rubric I will use when I grade your assignment. Okay? So, tasks as a heading lists the major things you need to do. There are subtasks. These are broken down into smaller pieces later in the instructions, but these are the, quote, big picture, unquote, things you need to do. You need to write code that describes a new class called policy. It needs to match the UML class diagram, and it needs to follow the basic coding standards. More details to come. You need to complete the skeleton or shell code provided called test_policy.java, and there's more details to come. So under requirements, this is where the details are. Policy.java, okay, create the code. The class policy must have 2 constructors. Here's information about the constructors. You need set methods. Here's detailed information about what the set methods need to look like. You need get methods with detailed information about what the get methods look like. There's a class method called txt_type, text type. It will take a look at one of the instance variable values, and based on that value, it will return a string. Okay, we use codes to describe things in a lot of our storage when we store objects, when we store data. So this is just a little bit of exercise in decoding, in translating those codes. You also need a class method called toString. Learn to love your toStrings. They're beautiful, wonderful things, with some detailed information about that. Do not include unnecessary or unneeded code. Don't throw the kitchen sink at this, please. It is not useful. Use the basic coding standards. Use the basic coding standards. You must follow the basic coding standards. I know I'm being repetitive. I'm going to repeat it a few more times. if your code does not follow the basic coding standards, your code is subject to earning a grade of 0. It is really easy to earn a grade of 0. Just defy the basic coding standards. If you want to earn a grade of 100, you must. Actually, if you want to earn a grade of much of anything over 0, you must follow my basic coding standards. And we will come back to that topic in a bit. Here's some detailed information on how to complete test_policy.java. Okay. Detailed information, you can walk through these steps. You need to test your code. Okay. I do more testing than you do. Test your code. Test your code some more. Instructions on submitting your work. When you submit your work, I need to see it in a zipped folder. The zipped folder, please do not use Tarball or RAR or anything else. Zipped folder, please. I don't have all that other software and I'm not loading it on my personal machine. So if I can't open it, I can't grade it. Please make it a zipped folder. Policy.java, note the source code, and test_policy.java, source code. Give me source code only. Do not give me back the stuff I gave to you, just the things you worked on. Okay, so let me close one of those tabs. Oh, I hate that. I have something up here that won't let me touch all of that. Okay. I've also given you the UML class diagram. In references, you can find an introduction to UML class diagrams. This is a description of what the code is supposed to do. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instance variables or attributes. These are described by the name. You must use these names, by the way, by type with a short description. Now, we actually have an instance variable called type. It's an integer. It can have a value of 1 or 2. Those are the ones we expect anyway. If it's 1, that means that this is going to be a homeowner's policy. If it's 2, that means this is a renter's policy. This is an example of how we use codes to condense our data when we store it, when we transport it from point to point. The first two operations, this is a null constructor that's described here. The second is our full constructor described here. I've included descriptions of all of your set or mutator methods. I've also included descriptions of all of your get or accessor methods. Please note, starting with PA2, you will not see that in your UML. In standard usage for our UML class diagram, we do not include these. They are assumed to exist. They are assumed to be correctly named and correctly typed. Here's that text type method that I mentioned from the instructions and a short description of what it's supposed to do. And here's a description of our toString method. Well, I didn't format that properly. And a short description of what the toString method will do. Try not to have 18 million tabs open there. Okay. I'm not going to open up the skeleton code, but when you open this, you'll see that it is Java code. There are instructions, little markers that will help you see where you need to go in and modify code. What I need you to do when you are working on this, create a folder for your PA1 work. Copy test_policy.java into that folder. When you write the code for policy.java, write it into the same folder. Okay. You will also copy this executable PA1 standards check into that folder. This is an executable file. You cannot open it and read it. It's bytecodes. It's directly executable in the JVM. Okay. This will do some basic standards review for you. It's to help you make sure that you are following some of the really basic coding standards. That's the purpose to this code. When I grade your code, I run a similar standards check. You want to make sure your code will compile and execute with this standards check active and in the same folder with policy.java and test_policy.java. This is a grading rubric. Oh, I need to add something to this folder. It shows you how the points break out for the assignment. Okay. It's pretty detailed. I'm not going to go through it all with you because I don't think you need me to read things for you. But we're going to check things. They're components, they're requirements, or components and criteria for success. You could literally use this as a checklist if you wanted to help you make sure, did I do that correctly? Do I have the correct access type on all of my variables, my instance variables? Are they typed properly? Did I write the method header for my null constructor correctly? Did I write the one for my full constructor correctly? And do I call all my set methods in my full constructor? Check, 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 check. Okay, that means I've earned this many points. Okay, you can literally use this to help you figure out your own grade. Okay, I need to add the expected output. I apologize for that not being here, but there, like I said, there are a lot of pieces, and I just forgot that link. It will be here when you get here. PA1 submission. I can't really go into this as an instructor and see it, but this is where you will actually attach a zipped folder, .zip, not .rar, not .trb, a zipped folder. That folder will contain precisely, no more, no less, 2 source files and source only, policy.java and test_policy.java. And just in case you want, at some point, a review of the coding standards, there's a link to a folder here. Now, I've given you, before we're done, there'll probably be at least half a dozen links to the basic coding standards document. There is only one copy of that document. I just provide links in a lot of places so that I can be sure that you can always find it and you can always get to it from any point where you may need it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this to show you what's in that folder. Here's a link to the standards document itself. Okay, all links lead to a single document. Wherever you see the link for the basic coding standards, it gets you to the same place. Okay. The rest of this, basically demonstrations. These demonstrations use a class called Rectangle. I've provided you with a UML diagram for that as well. So you can walk through these videos. These are YouTube videos that are available to you that use this UML class diagram and demonstrate how you go from the class diagram to Java code that meets the basic coding standards. Okay. Now I have it broken up into several pieces: variables and instance variables and constructors, set methods, get methods, class methods. In our case, PA1's case, that would be your txt type method. Okay. Talking about the toString method, all of our classes that we build should always have a toString method. So I separated that out here. So this coding the two-string method to meet the basic coding standards, and then a little bit about compiling and testing your code. Now, just so you can tie all the pieces together, hopefully, connect the UML to the video to what it should look like in the code, I provided PDFs of both the rectangle code and code we would use to test rectangle. Okay, so this is going to be available to you. There is a link in the left-hand navigation bar under resources. This is available to you all semester. I put the link in under PA1 because this is where you need to make sure you've seen it. Okay, you want to make sure you follow those standards in PA1 because PA2 builds on top of PA1. PA3 builds on top of PA2. Okay, you want to start out from a good solid foundation. You want to make sure your PA1 code meets all of these coding standards. So I put this link in here specifically for that reason. It will be available to you throughout the semester in the left-hand navigation bar in Blackboard. So that should give you a pretty good rundown of what's going on with PA1, and thank you for your attention.